Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with a recap and analysis of the Pittsburgh Steelers preseason finale, a 24-17 loss against the Detroit Lions on Saturday. Let's talk about it. Before we start, if you guys could like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the site SteelersDepot.com. Would really appreciate that. So Pittsburgh 0-3 in the preseason. Not a big deal, obviously, but Pittsburgh will try to get their first win of the 2024 season in Week 1 against Atlanta, the most important game Pittsburgh will have played to date. So this one, to get the starters in, to get the offense rolling, Detroit played their backups basically across the board, so I understand when you're watching the first team offense, Russell Wilson and company lead a touchdown drive, you can take that with a grain of salt, but it's still good to get some movement, get in the end zone once, and feel a little bit more confident, and just to kind of stop the media chatter about how much this offense has struggled, which was fair and true, but still preseason, keep things in perspective. And had Pittsburgh struggled against the Lions backups, that would have been an even bigger concern than where it was against Buffalo. So that was still nice to see. Pittsburgh got themselves in a 3rd and 11. Kind of felt like same old story. You backed yourself up. Poor pass from Russell Wilson on a screen to Pickens, where his elbow came down on review, but that big 31-yard completion, the line gave Wilson plenty of time. And then you finish that off with Cordell Patterson, inside zone run, well blocked up front by Zach Frazier, Isaac Seumalo and company. Patterson cut to make the safety miss in the 2nd, 3rd level, and then finish the run off. So yeah, against backups, understood, but still nice to see overall. Quarterbacks across the board I thought played well. Thought Wilson in a limited action played well. Obviously had a nice throw to George Pickens. Justin Fields I thought played well. Seemed more decisive, seemed more confident, seemed to push the ball downfield more often while still playing smart over the middle. Completions to guys like Michael Pruitt and Van Jefferson. So I just thought it was a more confident game for Fields. Some hiccups. There was a snap issue. I don't think that was on Fields. I think that's a silent count on the road type thing where Frazier thought maybe that he was being tapped by Spencer Anderson or something, and the ball was snapped early. Fields never expected it. At least they didn't turn it over. But I don't think that was on Justin Fields. Just kind of the first time on the road and dealing with some of those pains. And so hopefully those things are worked out for Atlanta. They have to be. Pittsburgh's on the road the first 2 weeks, at Atlanta Week 1, at Denver Week 2. Neither will be an easy game for this team. But overall, quarterbacks did well. Kyle Allen on the deep ball, great completions to Des Fitzpatrick and Jeray Jenkins. And even the rookie, John Rice Plumlee, after doing everything but playing quarterback, got in, played quarterback, and looked good. He had a throw on a slant to Quez Watkins on the money, to Jenkins over the middle, and a 4th down completion to Watkins. That was a great play with some pressure that unfortunately was negated by a Joey Fisher, an eligible man downfield. And they ended up having to punt because Fisher false started on the ensuing play. So I thought all the quarterbacks looked good despite the Steelers offense only running 43 plays, only throwing the ball 15 times, 11 completions. Even on that small menu and volume, the quarterbacks did well. Running backs, nice to see Patterson looking spry. We'll see how much usage he gets throughout the season. It'll ebb and flow. They'll mix him, move him around and mix him up here in the offense, and we'll see if Jaylen Warren can go Week 1. He looked good. I saw him on the sidelines. He was hyped up after some play. I don't know if Plumlee made a play or something. He was kind of bouncing around, so that's an encouraging sign for Warren being ready for Week 1, having 2 more weeks to heal before September 8th. I thought P. Ryan showed some speed to the edge. Shamklin showed some burst. Edwards had a 7-yard run, but just not a lot of volume to evaluate those guys, unfortunately. Although it sounded like Jonathan Ward was going to play in this one. Maybe he did on special teams. I didn't see him out there. He did not get a carry, so he had a really good camp and got hurt with a hamstring injury. We'll see where his status goes moving forward. Wide receivers, Des Fitzpatrick, that's a great catch. I still was hoping to see more out of a gunner role. I don't think he really got the chances in this one. They were running a lot of Scotty Miller and Darius Rush. I think Ryan Watts got a rep or 2 late in this one. And, of course, the first-team offense scoring on the opening drive. Fields touchdown on the 2nd drive. Didn't have as many punts in this one. I should mention, by the way, speaking of the touchdown that P. Ryan had, just some of the concepts you can run with Justin Fields, some of the quarterback power and read options that can be really effective in the low red zone, short yardage situations. So those are things where situationally I think you'll see Fields come in. But bringing it back to the receivers, yeah, not a ton to note here, but Fitzpatrick, Jenkins, good catches, and Michael Pruitt making a catch from Fields as well. So He's not been targeted much this year. Made a nice catch there. Darnell Washington has not been targeted once. This preseason, he will be a blocker. Offensive line, better. Again, facing some Lions backups. No Aiden Hutchinson, but Broderick Jones. A lot of attention on him, myself included. He looked good. He was strong. He was steady. I want to rewatch the tape, obviously, but his punch seemed to be better and just didn't have the terrible reps that he did against Buffalo. So we'll take some confidence going into the season and see how the tackle battle shakes out with Fautanu, his health, his readiness. If he starts, what happens left side? You would think Broderick Jones will start, but Dan Moore, they like Dan Moore. He's had a good camp. He always has good camps. He's professional. So we'll just stay tuned for that. But coming out of the preseason, nice job there for Broderick Jones. Other offensive linemen, tough game for left tackle Devery Hamilton. Dylan Cook did not play in this one. I think he's got an injury, don't know the extent. And so Hamilton, who's been a third-team left tackle, was seeing second-team left tackle reps. Tough game for him, protecting Justin Fields, and that's why Tomlin smartly pulled Fields when he did. Spencer Anderson at right tackle, a little rougher overall, but again, I got to go watch really all the tape of this one once the all-22 drops. Ryan McCullum was the backup center to Zach Frazier, and then late in the game, Mason McCormick got some work in, so they didn't get a ton of time. No Anderson at center, although that's probably partially because they needed tackles in this game. They were shorter on tackles with Fautanu out and Dan Moore exiting early, Cook not playing, etc. So that kind of probably forced Anderson to have to play more tackle and not make him a viable option along the interior in this game. We'll see if McCollum becomes the backup. Really interested in that. Don't know which way it'll go. McCollum, if he makes the 53, was not in play until the Herbig injury. Will they go outside the organization to bring somebody back? Wouldn't shock me either. Stay tuned for that one. Defensively, the front seven for Pittsburgh just overwhelming the Lions in the first quarter of this one. Again, Pittsburgh playing starters, Lions playing backups, but still, I mean, Herbig is just ridiculous. He's done that against starters. He's done that all preseason, so it's not just him beating some backups. And, I mean, it's just his first step, his array of moves, his technique, his hand placement, his effort. It's just all off the charts. So he's so much fun to watch. Pittsburgh's got to use, I think they will use some 3 outside linebacker packages with him and Watt and Highsmith on the field. They ran their over front in this game. You can do some kind of different stuff there. Got Herbig up the A-gap on their first look there. So just really confident in the top 3 and outside linebacker. Obviously, Keanu Benton, I mean, he was getting consistent pressure. He was clubbing people. He had a spin move, I think a second rush. I briefly watched back the TV tape and saw that. So he's tried that spin move throughout training camp. Didn't really work super well, but I think he's refined it and toasted some poor center. Not expecting that in this game. Whether you talk about Isaiah Loudermilk getting pressure, probably should have had 1 or 2 sacks in this one. He was jumping to try to deflect the pass that was never thrown, missed a sack because of that. But he's become a more focused pass rusher, more power, more rips, more push-pulls, swims, which is not power, but he tried to cross chops his rookie year, which is just not his game. So he's kind of become a more refined, focused pass rusher, and that's been beneficial to him. DeMarvin Leal, I was watching back just the first quarter or so. He started at outside linebacker. It was not obviously I know Watt and Highsmith didn't play, and Herbig was starting opposite, but it wasn't Kyron Johnson. Did not see Jeremiah Moon. That's a terrible sign for him, or Julius Welshoff. So can Leal kind of be that 4th outside linebacker? Maybe. That'll be really interesting to see on cutdowns how they handle D-line in that 4th outside linebacker spot. Is everyone safe up front? Could Lowry be in danger? It's Loudermilk. I think he's done pretty well. I'm not saying he's 100% safe, but would be mildly surprised if he was cut. And Leal, I think, is going to make this team too. Linebacker, not as much to note. Patrick Queen just played 1 series to get kind of some extra reps in. Peyton Wilson did not play. Tomlin said he cleared concussion protocol, but Tomlin chose not to play him. I assume a lack of reps and readiness and a game plan type week probably was the reason for that. Kyron Johnson back on the edge, really quick first step. I mean, he didn't get a sack in this one, but he had a ton of pressure that created sacks. He's a really good, dip and rip, or at least dip the edge, speed rush kind of a guy. Just small and light and gets pushed around against the run. So we'll see what happens with him. Kudos to Julius Welshoff. He had 2 sacks. They were, I don't want to say cleanups. One came off a stunt. I think one came off other pressure, but sacks are sacks. He's got 3 of them this preseason, so kudos to him. He's worked so hard. He's a really highly conditioned guy. He's probably played more defensive snaps than any other Steeler this year. And so you want to give credit there. He had a knee injury apparently late. Hopefully that's okay. It'd be terrible if something severely wrong happened with Welshoff in this finale, because he was going to be on the practice squad as their international exemption candidate and player, and be able to spend the season there and work on his game. Secondary, it was notable to see Corey Trice Jr. get the nod with Joey Porter Jr. not playing, a minor injury per Tomlin, not seemingly concerned about that, and so I won't be either. Trice made some plays downhill in terms of his tackles, defending screens, the quick game. I mean, he's done that twice this year in terms of tackles for loss or at the line of scrimmage on those kind of bubble or smoke screens. So that's good to see. He had a groin injury, Tomlin said, and so hopefully that's not an issue. Trice is getting work in dime packages still. I still think an outside defensive back, at least one, maybe even more, gets brought in. You need probably some veteran depth on the outside. You fully trust Trice right now. Darius Rush didn't play much. He played some dime packages, but really wasn't getting a lot of time in this one. So that's a troubling sign. Obviously, slot corner, anyone really separating themselves. Bishop didn't come in until the second half. Tomlin said just didn't have the reps throughout the week to get those first team opportunities, but him nor Graham really moved the ball forward in terms of locking up their status. Is Bishop even a lock to make this 53? You can probably at least discuss it right now. So we'll see how that shakes out. Me personally, I'd probably get some pushback. I'd bring back Patrick Peterson, just not to play outside corner, but to play slot and do some safety rotation stuff they like to do with Sutton that they can't do until Sutton returns in Week 10 off suspension. So he's a guy that knows the system, can play right away. He's got to get back in shape and football shape and conditioning, but be a smaller menu of snaps playing in the slot as opposed to playing on the outside and running vertically a ton. So that's probably what I would do. All right, I'm sure I probably have a couple other thoughts I'm missing here, but I got to turn this around pretty quickly here with roster cutdowns on Tuesday by 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Pittsburgh and the rest of the NFL must have their rosters trimmed to 53 men. That's the initial cutdown. There can be plenty of moves afterwards. I think Pittsburgh will be active in adding some outsiders. You're looking maybe receiver, maybe backup center, slot corner, outside corner, maybe a fifth safety. Ryan Watts also getting hurt. Seems to be less serious than how it looked initially, and thank goodness for that, but still don't know if he was going to make the 53 anyway. A little controversial, but I think he was a bubble guy coming into the game. So maybe a fifth safety or just someone who can really be a quality special teamer and gunner. The net punting was still poor, which is reflective of the coverage team, not a reflection necessarily on Cameron Johnston. So I think you'll probably see, if I had to guess, just guessing, but 2-3 outside names get brought in here. There's some holes on the depth aspect of this roster that I think need to be addressed from guys that are not going to be able to fulfill that internally. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you guys watching. Again, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. I'll have my final roster prediction probably for Monday morning if you want to check that out, and we'll see what they do and what moves they make, what moves they don't make, and how things shift after Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.